Okay, here's my script. This is Carol Thomas, Chair of the Needham Board of Library Trustees. First, I'd like to confirm that everyone, all members of the board and the persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. Please respond when I say your name. Ann McFate, Director.
Here.
Dimitri Karyakis, Assistant Director.
Here.
Jeff Arnold, Reference Staff and Recording Secretary. Daniel Tawa, Technology Specialist.
Here.
Okay, great. And Anna Geraldo Kerr, I see.
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes.
KK Hill,
Here.
Rick Hardy,
Here.
Tom Harkins,
Here.
Rob Pettit.
Here.
Jay Fialkov.
Hello.
And so the only one we don't have yet is Joan Smith, and she comes later.
Here.
Hi, I just came in.
Oh,
Hello.
hi. Okay, so it's unanimous. Okay, great. Good evening. It's now 7:04 on Tuesday, January 12th. And this is an open meeting of the Needham Board of Library Trustees. This meeting is being conducted remotely due to the state of emergency in the Commonwealth and consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020. The order allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded. This meeting will allow public comment by means of the chat function only. For this meeting, the Needham Board of Library Trustees is convening by Zoom app as posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and that all participants other than, all participants are participating by video conference. For those on, please be aware that others may be able to see you on this video conference, and take care not to unintentionally screen share your computer. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. For the effective and clear conduct of our business, for compliance with the governor's executive order, and to ensure accurate meeting minutes, I will restate our ground rules. The chair will introduce each speaker on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, the chair will invite members by name to provide any comment, questions, or motions to the extent practicable and within the bounds of open meeting law requirements. For conducting a virtual meeting, we will keep the meeting style informal as we do when we meet in person. Please remember to mute your phone or computer when you're not speaking. And please remember to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. For any response, please wait until I recognize you so that we don't speak over each other. You can easily wave and people can cue me in if I'm missing the wave. After members have spoken, I will afford a public comment as follows. Any member of the public signed in to the meeting as an attendee may submit written comment or question via the chat after identifying his or her name and address only. Dimitri Karyakis, Assistant Director, will monitor the chat inbox and give me a clue if there are submissions. The submissions by chat will be recorded and part of the official record of the meeting. Each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by roll call vote, a requirement of the governor's executive order of March 12, 2020. I now request a motion to automatically continue this meeting to February 9th, 2021 at 7 p.m. with the same Zoom ID number, which is our next regularly scheduled meeting, should any technical difficulty arise tonight that keeps us from completing this meeting. Could
So
I have
moved.
that motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Anna. Second?
Second.
Was that Kay?
Yes.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hey, Tom, I hear Tom. Do I have Jay,
Aye.
Rob,
Aye.
Rick,
Aye.
Anna,
Aye.
Kay,
Aye.
and me? Aye, unanimous. Let's get started. Let's go over the minutes of December 8th, our last meeting. I had just a couple of small things. Does anyone have other things, please? Is anyone,
I already reviewed it and made a couple small changes that I suggested.
yeah, okay. Anyone else have a change? Okay, what I saw was on page 3, paragraph 8, let's see. Oh, I didn't get credit for attending the Needham Diversity Summit. Tom, Carol, and Kay attended. That's the last paragraph on the page.
Okay. Oh,
And the page 4 at the top.
Carol,
Yes,
excuse me. I also attended.
and Anna, of course. Okay, Carol, Anna,
For Rick.
and Rick. Okay, let's pipe up. Okay, get credit. We're making progress on our resolution. That's great.
Please repeat who attended and didn't get credit, because they might have gotten credit the month before. This was a pickup from the month before.
Well, I don't know, but you can,
So who said,
it's accurate, so that's okay.
did everybody attend? Every trustee attend? That would make it easy.
I did not attend.
Okay, Jay did not attend. Everybody else did. Good.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Who's the 6th? 1, 2, 3, 4.
Tom?
Who am I missing?
Did you get me?
Rob, you didn't attend. Rob?
I sorry, attend last meeting?
No, did you attend the Diversity Summit?
No, I did not.
Okay, so 5 of us did. 5 of us did. That's a pretty nice representation. Great. At the top of page 4 in the minutes, under strategic plan, we need to strike the part that says fiscal year 20 trustee goals, trustees final report. Let's just, I think it's more accurate to say trustees report on library progress in fiscal year 20 as the title of that in bold. Trustees report on library progress in fiscal year 20. It's really not a report on our goals, which is to monitor progress that the library makes. So I just want to clarify that by
So are you saying that there'll be no report like there has been for the past few years?
oh yeah, there will be a report. Yep. Trustees report on library progress in fiscal year 20. It's a report on progress on the strategic plan, not on the trustee goals. It's a little confusing to put it that way. Okay, with those changes, do I have a motion to accept these minutes?
So moved.
Thank you, Rob. Second.
Second.
Thank you, Tom. I'll just run down the list. All in favor, Jay,
Yes.
Rob,
Yes.
Rick,
Aye.
Tom,
Aye.
Anna,
Aye.
Kay,
aye.
and me, and unanimous. Thank you very much. Accepted with those changes. 1/12/21. It's still hard for me to write 2021. I keep being tempted with the extras, the 0 at the end.
It was so convenient just to write 2020.
It was kind of, well, had a nice symmetry
Yeah.
or whatever. Director's report. And we're up.
Okay, the first thing you want to do is accept the gifts that are listed. There are 2 gifts listed in the report.
Do I have a motion to accept those 2 gifts?
I move to accept the gifts.
Thank you, Kay. Second.
Second.
Thank you, Rob. All in favor? I'll run down my list. Rick, Jay,
Aye.
Rob,
Aye.
Rick,
Aye.
Tom,
Aye.
Anna,
Aye.
Kay,
Aye.
and I for myself. So that is unanimously approved.
Okay. The next item that I would like to discuss is the Friends rental collection. I'm sure you've read what I um, wrote for the report. Are there comments, questions?
I have a question. Have you discussed this with the Friends at all?
I sent a note to the Friends president. The Friends will meet again on the last Monday of this month.
Okay, because I'd be curious to see what their response is.
Okay. Legitimate.
And I just have a question. Do we think this is going to impact their fundraising at all? I mean, will it be a significant decrease in the funds they raise for the library?
The funds that resulted from the rentals were used to buy more books for the rental collection. The Friends didn't ever have.
Oh. Okay, good,
And-
good to know.
The
Go ahead, Tom. Yeah,
one impact it might have financially is that after, 8 months, those books went into the Friends book sale. But that's minimum. So I have a question. Am I correct in understanding then that as a practical matter, you'll be getting all of these books from other funds, and it's not like there'll be fewer recent books available. They'll simply be equally available without having to pay a rental fee?
They won't be in a seperate collection. They'll
I
be.
understand, but they'll be available, those books, and the same number. We're not going to have fewer books available, and the difference will be that you won't have to pay a rental fee for the current and recent ones.
I think we're in that position now. We buy multiple copies of books that are on reserve. For every reserve amount, for every 3 reserves, I think it is, we buy a copy.
Mhm.
So nobody's really waiting very long for a book.
so essentially they don't need that rental collection for the most part. It's only a week-long rental, so it's, you end up having to, pick it up and use it right away, which is not as nice as having it for the 3 weeks.
True.
So no, that's great. And of course, there's when this program started, I guess there probably weren't digital books, and you couldn't, a lot of the other ways to read were not available back then, and hard copy was essentially it.
The only thing I didn't do that I meant to do was see what $1 in 1988 or 89 is worth today. Probably you'd have to pay $2 anyway to rent the book if you want to stay on the same level. But
Yeah. But if you feel it, if you feel that you are giving good access to books and pretty short order, even the latest, then I don't see, I don't personally have any problem with eliminating this, and just wonder what you would put of high priority in that space. Other new acquisitions?
we would probably display more new books, have a display of them rather than have them on the shelves with the spine facing out. We'd have the covers facing out over there. We have not decided. We've sort of decided, but it can be changed if somebody comes up with a better idea.
Yeah. I suppose the Friends might like to have a little more space, but I think that that's such a prominent spot that maybe it really should be used for new books.
Right.
Carol?
Yes, okay.
So just if the Friends don't have any major objections, I'm happy with this. I've honestly never really loved the message that you get when you first walk into the library and first thing you hit are books that you have to pay for. So
Yeah.
I think it's fine.
Yeah, I'm fine with it. And Anna?
Yeah, I agree. And I like the idea of using the space to display new books. Maybe we can share the space with some suggested reading in terms of the equity and inclusion topics, or maybe even monthly topics, Women's Month, Black History Month, Hispanic Heritage Month, or some others, LGBTQ, so that we could figure out how to, by use the space a bit more, in a more relevant way.
Yeah, well, I think that's actually, it's a quite a good idea, given that the program really is not in great use, and it doesn't seem that necessary right now to have rental books to get access quickly. So my
Can I
thought,
add something? Sorry, Carol. don't
yeah, I
know
was
if-
going to say, my thought is that maybe we should give Anne a chance to go back to the Friends. When did you say they meet?
Last Monday of the month.
Okay, so by February, you could have presented this and, just make sure that they're, feel a part of that decision since they've been paying for it all this time. And then come back to us next month. How would you feel about that?
That's fine.
You're not buying books now anyway, correct?
No.
Yeah. Jay?
I was going to say first that I had the same comment that Anna did about using the space. But also I was going to just mention what you've just covered, which is I'm perfectly comfortable with this, but as a courtesy, I wouldn't want us to be making a decision before the Friends weigh in. That's all.
Yeah, I think that's, that would be the nicer way to go about it. Okay, so we'll put that aside for February.
Tom, I think, has a comment.
Carol, there's a Tom.
Yeah, I go back to when they established that thing, and the reason was that there was a big demand for bestsellers books, and in that time we used to have a thing where we would actually rent books from what was it, McPherson, or what was the name of it?
Oh, yes.
Something. We used to rent books of bestsellers at certain times,
Yeah.
and then we had one experiment with Love Story, where the director at the time wanted a copy to be always available of Love Story, just to see how big it was such demand. And it was ridiculous. We had something like, it was over
70.
over 100 and something copies, wasn't it?
Oh my gosh.
And this was a good idea that the Friends came up with in cooperation with us to allow books, bestsellers like that. And of course, it's changed a lot. The idea of bestsellers has changed a lot in that time period. And of course, one of the things that we had going was that Ann already mentioned that we had the three, if you have three requests, we order another copy of it.
Mhm.
And that I remember from being the collection person reviewing this year, that was going to be reviewed, I remember. And now in lieu of this, we might want to, to look at that in idea of the Friends collection no longer being a possibility to provide bestsellers or frequently requested books.
The other problem, by the way, of having too many copies of Love Story is that on top of that, they weren't able to say they were sorry about it.
Good one.
Jay.
Tom was McNaughton.
McNaughton, McPherson, McNaughton, I knew it was some Scottish name. Yeah.
So,
Okay.
okay, the only thing is that now, I don't know how it's working out, but with these automatic renewals, I guess if something's in demand, you can't renew it. So there's no problem with, 3 weeks becoming 6 weeks or 9 weeks if it's in demand. So I guess that's not really an issue. Okay. So we'll take that up in February. Hopefully by then you will have, made your, brought it to the Friends for their blessing.
All right, the next subject I had was library overdue fines. How think ye?
Well, did this go by Kate, by the way? This
Yes, Kate
part,
got both things, both rental,
both, okay, yeah,
library overdue fines. She thought they were both wonderful.
okay, well, I think your experience that you relate from relate from other libraries is that you actually get more of your stuff back if you don't have fines between people returning or not returning what they have overdue. What about people not ever returning things if there are no fines?
They get billed. Once a book is on its second notice, they get a bill for the book.
And do they have the right to continue borrowing other books?
Not until they get that one back.
Once something's billed, it blocks. I think it blocks your record, doesn't it? Yeah.
So then I'm trying to understand this, and this is interesting, and I think I might want to learn a little bit more about it. But if the purpose of not having fines is to lead them to continue coming to the library, even if they owe money, how does that work if they still can't borrow books?
The purpose of not having a fine is to have them come back with the book and give it back to the library, not keep it because they're afraid that they'll have a fine on it.
I see.
And they can't with the fine. What they don't know is they can just drop it in the return slots, but maybe people have figured that out by now.
So what happens, Anne, if somebody is billed for a book because it's, on a second notice,
Mhm.
and then they bring the book back, all is forgiven?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, so you could, is that on the notice? And I mean, when people get a second notice, are they told sort of how this works?
When people get a second notice, it's actually a bill for the book. If they bring it in, once it's checked in, their record is wiped clean.
So does it say that on the bill, or is there some indication that they can't borrow books until they bring it back, or, and then that it all is forgiven if they do bring it back?
Probably there's a notice on I haven't seen an overdue notice for a while.
Okay, all right. Rob, I think you had something.
Let me look up. I think I have one here. No.
No.
Just a couple of thoughts. I do think it would be good to make it clear, if we can, exactly how it works with those bills that go out. But in the few instances where, ashamedly, I've had late fees and fines, honestly, the biggest challenge is just scrounging up the change for it. It's something where, it takes up staff time, and furthermore, it doesn't go back to the library budget at all.
Right.
So I really don't see what the purpose of maintaining them is if we can show that fines do not cause people to return books more frequently, or cause them to go lost less often.
Right.
Carol, can I?
I'm with you. Could I, Jay, you're
Yeah,
next.
I just wanted to, my impression from reading about this and from what you said is that this makes sense, and there's, I like the concept of it. I'm wondering if it means, though, that with the desk people no longer having to administer any payments, does this mean it's more likely that you would have automated check-in and check-out of books that would alter your staffing needs for the library? Like the machine where you check it in, because there's no need to deal with anything, to make a payment, to do anything like that. And I'm wondering if there's any, ripple effects about a decision like that as it relates to the check-in and checking out of books process.
Just more efficient? Is that?
Well, I know that Wellesley, for example, has it, and Newton as well, where you can put the book down, you check it out yourself, and the staff is then able to do other things. So I'm just curious.
Okay, we had self-checkout before COVID hit. So we still have the machines, and when we reopen, the self-checkout will probably be put back together, and people can check out their own material if they wish. As far as check-in is concerned, we would just love to have the automated materials handler like Wellesley does and like Newton does, but the finance committee doesn't seem to agree with us on this.
We've asked for that in the budget request.
Yes.
Well, that's sort of a different ball of wax. Let's get to that at another point. Kay, could we just stick to the, if we can, to the,
Sorry.
yeah, Kay?
Yes, I'll stick to the topic. I just was looking at the sheet of the annual expense circulation figure, the annual figures that you circulated to us for this meeting, and it does say the overdue fines revenue is 27,000. So that's not anything the town is worried about losing, $27,000.
Kate didn't seem to think so. It has gone down. It keeps dropping every year anyway.
Okay, I mean, that's, as long as we don't want the FinCom to be saying, you used to bring in 30,000 a year. And now,
When
we're not going to give you the materials handler or whatever, like,
When we closed down last March, all the Minuteman libraries and others across the country eliminated dates due and eliminated fines.
right.
We're still operating on that principle right now. We're not collecting. We haven't
I
collected.
appreciate that because I certainly have been known to keep a book while I'm finishing it. But yeah, I just don't want that to come back and bite us, if we regenerate, because the FinCon's always saying, oh, can't you generate revenue by renting out your space or, charging tutors or, so that's just one thing I just want to make sure we've thought that through.
Well, I guess it's been by Kate, and she at least didn't recognize that as a problem. Is that right, Anne?
Thought it was a wonderful idea. She thought they were both wonderful ideas.
Okay, and you didn't quite answer Jay's question about whether it would be more efficient checking in books if there's no fines. Is there actually a process when a book is checked in and that something has been overdue, when there's been a fine, or there's really no more delay than if it's on
When
time?
a person brought materials to the desk to check in, the person usually knew they were overdue.
Right, and then we'd pay.
Waited until
yeah.
somebody stopped and checked them in and could be told how much to pay. If you don't have a fine system, people can just put their books in the slot at the desk or outside, and they don't have to wait at all. And the person behind the desk doesn't have to take the time to figure out a fine for someone. So there's some economies there.
And in the past, if you put a book in the slot that was overdue, what is there staff time involved with
You'd pay your fine when you take out your next book is what
next time,
typically the way it would work.
Yeah, I would think. Yeah. Well, I think that all sounds reasonable. Tom, one last.
Yeah, one last thing on this. One thing you have to remember is that into the pandemic, you bring your books in there. One of the good reasons of not collecting fines during the pandemic is because once you put your book in there, it's 4 or 5 days before it gets checked in.
That's right. Yeah.
That's an issue that, you brought your book back, but, if you had fines accumulating for the 4 or 5 days the book is in quarantine, then, people have a legitimate complaint.
Well, yeah, nobody, doesn't really apply to right now anyway. But I think
No,
it would just be a matter of continuing.
But it gives a reason for why that, we're not doing fines.
Why we don't do, right, well, we're not doing it now. Could I ask you, Anne, the next step on this? It sounds like there's probably agreement to make this change, but you need to present a revised policy that changes the wording?
Oh, probably. There's a couple of policies that
Yeah.
were changed, right? Anna has been waving her hand patiently here.
Okay, I actually, I only get so many of you up at one time, so I don't see people waving. Not the right people. Anna.
Thank you. Quick thing, I'm looking at one overdue notice I received recently. And it just tells me that the item is overdue, but there is no warning that I'm not able to borrow. So just FYI.
There's automatic renewal.
No, I exceeded this is like, I need to bring it back or else. No, I mean, you didn't say that.
I think it used to be if you owed more than $10 or there was some dollar amount,
Yeah.
where you couldn't take out another book. I know.
But it doesn't, as it doesn't tell me that I'm not able to borrow anything else. I mean, not that it's a big deal for me, but just so, since we were discussing that was the procedure, that's not being communicated, or at least maybe it's temporary because of COVID. I don't know.
You should know that we don't make our own overdue notices. They're a network-wide overdue notice that is put together by a committee. And we all get the same overdue notices to send to people. Or they go out automatically through the computers too.
And they are limited, I believe, in scope of how many words we can use.
Yes.
Okay.
All
So,
right.
okay.
I guess we can address those finer points, but it would be nice if people understood, assuming we are removing the fines, they understand, that when they do get a bill for the book, as though we're missing, that, these are the ramifications. They can't borrow until they, settle up, or bring back the item. But for now, I think we should send it back for revision of the policies that reflect this, understanding that there seems to be a consensus about changing the policy itself. This again is not going to come into play until we were even, thinking about reinstating the fine system. So why don't we do that? Is there any objection to doing it that way?
No, I didn't really expect a vote tonight. I just expected you'd start a discussion and.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot of articles online about it. It's very interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. In some places like New York, it's made a big difference in library usage, I think, to eliminate the fines.
Mhm.
So New York City, or parts of New York City. Okay, so I think we'll leave that for now. Building and grounds. And
Okay. The front door, the Highland Ave door, has finally been fixed after several months.
is anyone using that entrance?
No,
Not even, not even for handicap.
but if you went out that door, it closed so fast. If you didn't step lively, you hit.
Yeah, okay, good. Yeah, as painting is going on, and the things that are pending have been sort of,
And unfortunately, right now, the #1 elevator, the main elevator, is out of commission,
yeah.
broke.
When did that happen, Anne? When did it stop?
When did it happen?
Yes.
It happened on the 31st because I was trapped in it for 15 minutes and was talking to a service that was 2 services ago to try to get someone to get me out.
Oh, gee.
Yeah, great way to end the year.
Happy New Year. Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, boy. Okay. Well, you're out, obviously.
Oh yeah, I got out.
maybe that's why you
Actually,
broadcast.
it's not so obvious.
Maybe,
the photo.
maybe not. Maybe she's still there.
Okay. All right. So what's the prognosis there? They're waiting, but how long?
But he needs to order a part, so it's.
We waited weeks for a part at one time, and that elevator was out of service when we had a book sale. Do you know whether this part is one of that type of part that's going to take
I
forever?
have no idea what part it is.
I just know from talking to Angel, if I may say, when that happened last time, they had to manufacture a part. This time it's not an issue manufacturing it.
Well, that's right. They had to send to Germany to manufacture the part.
Germany, yeah, it was Germany, I think.
This is not that case. They're sourcing it. It's going to take a couple, they don't know how many days, but they don't have to manufacture it basically.
Okay, yeah, and at least we have fewer staff and no patrons needing it. Okay. And the other work orders have been put on hold apparently, so by the town. So there's really nothing really to talk about with that at the moment, I would say. Anybody disagree? Okay. Financial reports.
I gave you a copy of the state aid use policy. I didn't know whether you wanted to discuss that also again.
Well, I would like to discuss a lot of things that became apparent at the recent meeting before the FinCom. But I tend to think that we need to do some footwork beforehand, not just change our policy. I think we need to prepare some things that advocate for the requests that you made, and explain, educate, and maybe do it more of a believable job, I guess. I don't know. They obviously didn't believe in those requests. And wasn't just a matter of the state aid was out there and we haven't spent it, and they had their eye on that pot of change. I also think from the conclusion of the meeting that it was clear that they thought we had cooked the books for which towns we picked to compare ourselves to. They thought that really all we don't even need a library building. We just need, digital books that we can download and movies to stream. And there seemed to be quite a bit of, stuff that we need to work on as a library to, show why we're asking for these things, educate about what's really, what purposes the library serves in the community, and what are what the future should look like if we're keeping up to date. So I think the first step, Kay, is on the agenda just under new business, although it isn't entirely new, to talk about preparing something that is more public facing, and that maybe could be used as a basis to prepare something, maybe for a meeting with FinCom, invite them. And this was Kay's idea, that we invite them to our meeting. Apparently they don't read what we just send. If we just send them things, they don't read them. They're a volunteer board like ours, and they have a lot to read, I'm sure. But if we had them in front of us and we made a very logical and clear presentation, I think that might be more useful. So I would like to go forward along that line, but I'd like to hear what other people think about that, rather than entertaining changing our policy on state aid.
Carol, I don't know if you see me, but
No, I don't. How do and maybe somebody can tell me, how do I see everybody?
your-
Instead of just like 5 or 6 people.
You have your gallery view
Yeah,
yeah.
I
on the
don't know.
top,
right-hand
on
corner.
the
The
top right,
upper-
make sure you're on
Okay,
gallery
all
view.
right. Okay, that's what I need. Okay.
Okay,
Oh, now I see everyone.
okay.
Oh,
So
okay.
may I?
Yes, Anna.
So I just have a question. I think this is an issue that's been happening, since I've heard about this several years in a row. So I'm wondering if one part of our strategy also could include maybe quarterly meetings. I don't know how often. My recollection is that we only discussed FinCom once a year, at least from our group, at the trustees level. I don't know if Anne goes more often, but from our perspective, where we sit, from our lens, maybe quarterly, updates, and try to cultivate some kind of relationship. Not necessarily that we're going to always agree, but that at least we are starting that dialogue, and it's not once a year. When so they have a little bit more time to get to know, at least give them give them some time for them to start to kind of process the information. So that was what I wanted to say.
So report to them more often?
That's a good use.
Like
I
update?
wasn't thinking of a report, but more engage in some dialogue, some kind of getting to know what we do, so that they understand why we are asking what we are asking. It seems like there's and maybe ask them what information will be helpful for you to understand, to make your decisions and to change your mind, but there needs to be some kind of cultivation of some kind of dialogue. And again, not necessarily that we're going to sway them, but at least that gives us a better chance. That once a year, boom, we go, they hear in that one moment, they hear all our justifications and our requests. And of course, Anne has done the work, and she submitted that ahead of time, but it seems like from the trustee side, we haven't tried that, at least to my knowledge. So.
Well, we haven't also ever had a single meeting, just inviting them as sort of guests to one of our meetings. It would be, I guess, depending on whether one person or more came, it would be a joint meeting, or it would just be a speaker, whether it was our Louise or whoever happened to be our liaison from the FinCom that year.
So
we could
bottom
start
line,
with that, yeah.
yeah,
And-
bottom line, more than once a year, perhaps, 3 times a year, something to help us cultivate that relationship.
Well, I think that that's a good idea to reach out to them. I don't know if, they're busy and I don't know if we're going to be able to succeed. I would like to start with something though, and along those lines. So, Rick, let me ask you why don't you have the floor next?
Yeah. So when I was chair, I made an attempt to try to cultivate the FinCom by sending out articles on what's going on with the libraries, where libraries are going, what are being demanded from patrons and the public from libraries. And I used to send it to the town hall contact, and they confirmed that they had passed it on to the FinCom. Again, whether or not they read it is another thing. I mean, if and when the library reopens, I could suggest that we do a full court press, that we give them a tour, and we have everything lined up in terms of the statistics, what we do, how we do it, give them the full boat tour, because they're not going to do it themselves. We have to educate them, and really a full court press, so that they can't, if again, to be snarky, I could have said, if we're in a hearing and saying, why are we doing this? It's like, well, did you ever read any of the articles I sent you? Then you'd know why we were doing what we were doing.
Yeah.
That's if we want to be snarky. But I think we should have a summit with them after this budget go around, when they're sort of off duty, and then if the library reopens, to have a tour and go through in terms of, again, how many people will use the library, the circulation, all the services that we do, what people are looking for, and so forth.
Yeah, and I'm, making the point, as you did in an email to me recently, Rick, that what we're trying to do at the library is something that the community has taken the time to fill out a questionnaire to tell us that they want. I guess, Rob, you're next.
Thanks, Carol. So just a couple of points. I did watch the video of the December 16th meeting, especially towards the end. And I think one thing that we should just be mindful of, I do think it's a great idea to get FinCom more involved, especially if there's just a library liaison person at FinCom who can come to our meetings and report back to the FinCom. That might be an efficient way of doing it. I don't want to set the precedent, though, that we are sort of reporting to them, or there were some very specific policy proposals that were tossed out there at that FinCom meeting, especially towards the end. And that's really something that's within our purview as an elected board. And I just want to make sure that we kind of gently reassert that while we're also reaching out and trying to show the value that we're creating in the community. The other piece is that, I think statistics are going to be very convincing for them. And the more that we can show what the library, and I know, Kay, you've done that in the past. You've been through a lot of statistics and it created a one-pager. If we can get statistics going back years, if we can show that there have been some really positive trends, that might help to justify some of these expenditures.
Mm-hmm.
There was a comment from a staff member. They wish to remain anonymous. I just want to throw out there. The person pointed out that does the FinCom change every year? And are there new members on there that aren't familiar with the library? And honestly, I think there may be 1 or 2 new ones, but I can't remember from last year. So, but like I said, it's an anonymous comment.
I remember right now, those of you who've been around a long time will remember Jim
Healy. Healy.
Jim Healy is now a member. He was a member back in the 90s when the library lost 53% of its budget thanks to a failed override.
And the individual was also, at one time a liaison with the library.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, Carol Kay.
Yes, Kay.
Oh, you're muted. Kay, you're muted.
Sorry.
Go Go ahead.
I totally am on board with what everybody's saying. I do believe that, for example, Rick's efforts to send them articles, they are not reading them. They seem to not have a good understanding of all the services and programs that the library offers, and that it's helpful to the library's offering things to people who are really in need. The people, the people in Needham who have the least resources available to them are the ones who are frequent visitors to the library. So what I'm thinking, and Rob, yes, statistics are what we need. I did a sheet last year that was, just a one-pager, but what I really think what we need is the kind of presentation that Rob put together, and I guess with Jay's help, where we walk them through. It's like take them step by step and educate them to a captive audience. I would like to see the whole FinCom, not just a representative. I didn't think Louise's understanding of the library was good at all. And I wouldn't want to rely on her to be the messenger. So if we could even just get them for one meeting, include, like Rick was saying, a tour, but also sit them down, march them through a high quality presentation, and so that they, really kind of explained it to them and deal with the question in that presentation of state aid, and why, that they should be making a decision on the budget requests, not based on do we have any money in the state aid, but based on the merit of the individual request, and that the state aid is our choice, as tough as is the case for the trust funds, but that so make a good presentation to them. And I'm not sure that I would be the one to actually make the presentation, but I would certainly work on it in collaboration. And anyway, that's my statement.
Yeah, Rick?
Yeah, just a real quick. I mean, to Rob's point too, and Tom may be able to chime in on this, but we are an elected board. We answer to the public to basically do the policies for the library. The FinCom is appointed. They're not elected. And I don't know how many other boards, have as major a budget as we do, that are elected. There's department heads, they're not elected. They have ultimately obviously report to the town manager, reports to the select board, but we're directly elected with a specific reason to run, to set the policies for the library. So
Yeah.
There's some legitimacy there to what Rob says, to say, fine and good, but we're representing the public based on being elected to this board. Tom?
Tom, turn off.
Yeah, the situation is that we are elected to set policy for the library, but we don't do the budget.
Well, this is the rub, and they
So,
see that we
Therefore,
have funding. Yeah.
they really don't have to let us, talk at their meetings even. It'd be very unwise for them not to, but then again, they don't have to.
Maybe one of you should, there's enough of you, should go to all their meetings. So every time there's a FinCom board meeting, no matter what they're talking about.
Every Wednesday night?
Yeah.
Is it every Wednesday night?
Every Wednesday night.
Right now, because
Except
they're
in the
reviewing-
summer. Except in the summer.
Yeah, they got to go through every budget, line by line.
And it's all through town meeting, and then they celebrate after town meeting. And
Well,
It's
maybe we
celebrate-
should try to get them if there's a time that they're not so pressured, we should try to get ourselves organized so that we're prepared, because I think that's really the first step, to prepare what we want to present. But then try to figure out when is the most, I don't think just before they have the meeting at which the library presents its request is necessarily the right time to introduce sort of the bigger picture. For them to get to know us, it would be good to start earlier. I would hate to have another, dismal presentation, another reception that we got this year, last year in particular. Okay.
Yeah, I just wonder, so this is the second year I attended this, and I guess both years I've been surprised that I know we turn Anne and Dimitri, this is really for you. You turn in the budget requests to them in writing, but then at that meeting, doesn't it? It seems I've been surprised that there hasn't been. You folks have not marched them through the request, so explain them to them in person. And I was wondering why. Is there a reason that you don't?
It's not a reason that we don't. We could if we were asked to, but Louise Miller's been our rep for many years and she's always done a very good job. And I always felt that she was there pulling for us, except last year we had Carol Fischetti and I had to explain the budget. Even after we had met, I was not told that it was going to be me, but that's, that's all right. I've wrote it, so I should be able to explain it. But
Well, the year before that, it wasn't Louise either. It was
Rick Lunetta.
Rick Lunetta, yes.
Yeah, but I didn't feel like anybody spoke to say, okay, we're requesting this and here's why, and then we're requesting this and here's why, that seemed to kind of verbally walk them through the reasoning.
The problem is they come from a different age than we do. They're looking at all the money that the town has ready for budgets, and they see that we have these funds that they have no control over. And
yes, we now know that, right?
Yeah. Okay, yes, go ahead. And then I think we should probably move along.
I may be the last of us to weigh in.
Yes.
And I'll only say that I support all of what you're saying. It's our responsibility to convince them to give us all the money we want to do all the things that we want to do. And my reaction to the FinCom meeting is I'm not comfortable with the notion that Needham pays a relatively smaller share of its budget to the library, if it's true, compared to other comparable towns. And we need to put together, as you're suggesting, all of you, a presentation that helps them understand exactly why they should do exactly what we want them to do.
Yeah, I have to sway them. Yes, Rob.
I would be happy to help with that. I've got the software to put a presentation together. I think the biggest thing, obviously there are some thematic elements, but again, the more data that we can get, I think the better. And I did start collecting a bunch of data points about library budgets in comparable towns. So 128 towns between 15 and 40,000 people. And our budget, both as a percentage of the town budget, as well as the budget per resident, is one of the lowest out of the 15 or so towns that I compared us to.
Rob, I don't know whether I have to go back and look at myself at these MBLC statistics, whether that takes into account whether the building maintenance is part of the library budget or it is part of the town budget elsewhere in the town. And that is, that's a significant number. So we could just call the MBLC and just ask them what's the best way to figure that point out if it's not obvious when we look back at the statistics that they keep. I mean, there are a lot of statistics. There's a lot of grist for our mill there, I think. And I didn't cherry pick those. I didn't start with, the figures and then decide which towns. I started with the towns and saw, what the numbers were. But that obviously is not what their impression was. They thought we'd kind of cook the books a little bit there. So let's move on. But I think we've got a direction here. Then I think Kay is working on something outward facing, and maybe Kay, you and Rob could confer a bit about, because a lot of this will probably be helpful. The one sheeter should be helpful to the PowerPoint presentation, I would think too. So.
And who's the person at the library to reach out for data and statistics?
Say again, Rob, who should you reach out to?
This person you reach out to just for past, like if we can go back even 5, 10, 15 years on circulation.
Yeah, this sheet, right? The one that you do every year. We could maybe get the
Right,
previous.
if there's
Yeah.
a master spreadsheet somewhere with all of that information, it'd just be interesting to see what kind of trends we can show.
This is,
I think you can get some of that off of the ARIS from the MBLC directly too,
Okay.
for older, not just new. I mean,
Okay.
even the newest is not new. It's a 2018 is the newest that's on their site, but,
have miles of statistics.
okay, Anna, and then maybe,
Briefly, I'm thinking of that we can certainly leverage all this information, definitely with the FinCom, but also as maybe reaching out to the, the local sources to kind of promote the service that the library does. I can see an article in the Needham Times, we can talk to Needham Channel, once we have this, so we can repurpose this information that is being gathered and, kind of do a promotion of the services so that people are more aware. And hopefully from that indirect angle, we can also have some influence, because we are like, I feel like the library is the best kept secret of the town.
well,
It's so
that's
much-
where we kind of needed a publicity plan we don't have, but that's a whole
Right.
other subject too.
So this could be, like the raw material for that
I
purpose.
agree. Okay, can we move, and last word?
For the past few years, the town manager's budget had the library receiving some funds that we using state aid for, putting it into our budget, the town manager. And she presents her budget to the finance committee, and then they would take it out.
Yeah, so they she credited your requests and the FinCom reversed, yeah. Okay, that is the process. First, the town manager, then recommends the budget to the FinCom, and the FinCom speaks, and they're the gatekeepers. What doesn't go through them doesn't get to town meeting. I guess that's pretty much it, right? Yeah. Okay,
Usually.
okay, unless it's some separate article. Warrant article. State aid, is there any discussion of what actually was spent on this past month's report?
I believe there was anything.
It looks like we spent money on Canopy Library Insight. Remind me what that is.
Software for the museum passes when
Oh,
we're able
right. Okay, yep, okay.
to have them again.
And the overdrive.
3 overdrive payments.
Okay, yeah. All right, any comments on that? I'll move on if not. Okay. As I say, I'm not really ready to, personally, to review state aid use policy. I think we need to start at the other end on this process of justifying what we consider legitimate requests to come out of a town budget. And looking at the town, the expenditures from the town budget so far, we're underspent in the materials, books, periodicals, AV, and I guess about right for salaries.
Yeah, okay for salary. Take heart, though, the periodicals bill is finally here. And it's many thousands of dollars.
Okay. Do you anticipate that we will spend our materials and books budget?
I always anticipate that we'll spend it.
Yeah, I mean, I know the town is saying if you don't need to spend it, don't spend it this year. I'm always worried about not spending what we're given because, we're already fighting for.
Last year, they didn't want us to spend it. They told us not to spend it. This year, they haven't said anything. So
Okay.
we're.
All right, I know the MBLC is promoting the idea that we shouldn't let our libraries lag just because this year there's a crunch. Otherwise, then we'll be set back when we do reopen.
Right.
And I can see that. Statistics. Anne, would you want to walk us through that, both on the digital circulation and on the whole picture that you, for the
Okay, I made this nice little chart. You wanted to know about digital circulation figures. So the staff provided me with all the figures and I played with the percentages. So the total circulation for digital goes around 30%, which is around 70% for the print collection. So the print collection isn't dead. Digital has climbed, but the print collection is far from dead. And then on the last page, I kind of looked around. I've seen figures from Minuteman about how much other libraries are spending, and I think we are underspent digitally, even though it looks like we're not, but we are. And we can fix that ourselves
Within our budget, within our town budget,
within our budget, right?
town budget,
Town budget, okay.
yes. Okay, need to. So how do we do that?
We spend more money.
So, I mean, it's not on overdrive because we're already paying for overdrive and overdrive advantage through other funding. So.
Well, we
when
have
you
found
say-
ways to save a little money on the RB digital newspapers. People weren't really, this was not funded by the town or the state aid. This was funded by the Friends. It didn't prove to be a huge success, so we're not going to renew that one. And that would have cost us, if we had, $6,800. So
where are you going to put, you're saying it's going to come out of state aid, or where is it going to come out?
no, it's not going to come out of anything because it was paid by the Friends. But normally the Friends would pay for 1 year and then we'd pick it up ourselves in our budget, but we won't be doing that.
Okay, so what are we buying to spend more on? What are we spending more on?
People will just be told to spend the money that was allotted to them at the beginning of the year. Some of their buying might have lagged a bit. Different times of the year are good publishing times. Springtime, starting February, March, April, those are big printing times. And people will be buying more books then than they would be buying in January, or even December is not a big month. Everybody who's buying for gifts, is buying in November.
So what, we're not buying,
That people will be spending what they were given to spend in their budgets. They were not spending their entire budgets up. They're not spending 1/12 every month.
okay, so Anne, can I just interrupt here? So we're talking about buying CDs, music CDs, we're talking about buying playaways or books on CD, right? They're physical things that belong in the library,
Right.
not something you stream or download, because those are not being paid for by the town anyway, correct?
What, the things that we download?
Yeah, I mean, the town is not paying for overdrive
Okay, all
or
right,
canopy or, you know,
all right. So yes, we are talking about the library budget.
right, okay.
And it is underspent. The magazines will be paid shortly, I hope. But even if there's still money left, people get a budget every year. I
Yeah.
give them a budget. I tell them how much we're going to be spending on periodicals. And then they get a certain amount of money they should spend every month. And sometimes they just don't have enough good things to purchase. So they haven't spent so much
Yeah.
for 1 month, but they'll spend it the next month when the publishing is higher.
Yeah, okay,
Carol?
yes.
So just a question, is this for online databases, we spend for online databases, that comes out of the library budget?
$45,000.
Yeah. So if you're looking for a way to spend money, I have an idea. Because the medical database is really poor. I've been a medical writer for a long time for Harvard Medical School and the hospitals, and the medical database doesn't allow access to any of the full text journal articles of quality. So if you were interested in getting a really good edition, it will be called Up to Date. I don't know what the subscription is for Up to Date off the top of my head, but Up to Date is a really good medical and very usable by the average person. Rick, you would probably know about that, right?
Yeah. I think that'd be that, and we could promote that because I think that would be very of great interest.
Yeah, it's a very high quality database. Yep.
Great, okay, good idea.
Danielle?
I actually used it in my former life as a medical librarian. It is great.
Okay, we'll check into it. Thank you.
Good, thanks, Kay. All right, so I think we're going to move along to our next topic. Unless you want to go over the statistical report that the annual one. I don't think we need to do that though, unless someone has a question about it. We are on to, where's my agenda? I've lost it. New business, and we've kind of covered. Kay, I don't know if you have anything you want to say about, I know you had things you were working on for the art committee, but now, when that's out of the way, you were going to.
Yes, are you talking about the public facing report on the agenda?
New business, yes.
Yeah, so I have not really started that yet. I've been in touch with Anne. The statistics that I used last year, this year are not, they're not going to help us much because, because they're mostly down because of the COVID closing. Rick but what I'm really thinking is this public facing report should really take the form of at least a PowerPoint, and maybe I would work with Rob on developing a real presentation. Part of it could be a one-pager, but I'm going to need, and Anne had said that she had staff putting together kind of what we talked about, important things to point out that happened during the last year, like the curbside book pickup and the many other things that we've done. And you had mentioned you were going to have somebody on staff do that, put together that.
The whole staff is working on it.
Oh, great.
Okay,
Awesome.
so that's moving along. Rick?
And when we get the new website, we can upload those sorts of things so people can have access to it. It'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
Super. Yeah, that's going to be great. Okay, let's keep moving. I'm just curious about everyone except myself, I think, has spoken with the League of Women Voters, Sally Torin and Carol
Alper.
Albert. And I don't know if anyone wanted to report anything about that. I'll talk with Sally Torin tomorrow morning for my turn, but anything?
When they talked about term limits, I pointed them to Tom.
Yeah, they laughed when they asked what I thought about term limits. It's preface by the fact that I've been a library trustee since 1976.
76, like you're showing your age, Tom, by saying that.
Yeah.
You're a 2-year-old, right?
Very young started.
You're
And I am
Yeah.
when I started, at one time, I was the youngest member of the Board of Trustees and also the longest, I was the youngest member and also the longest serving member.
You're like the governor of California. Wasn't he the youngest elected governor of California? And then we left office. He was the oldest elected governor of California, right? Barry Brown.
Yes, that's right.
I think if I could just break in that there about term limits, I think that's a topic that we should probably take up as part of our bylaws review before too long. It's been recommended that that library boards do have a term limit, partly because every member of the board, as this was the explanation, every member of the board has sort of a constituency within the town. They have their network. And so it helps to reach different sectors of town to have to have some turnover in the board. That alone is helpful. And usually if somebody hasn't voiced an opinion after, 3 terms, they probably aren't going to have a new idea, the next time. I don't know if that applies to Tom, but it probably applies to most of us. Rob.
So my thought on that, and there were a couple interesting questions they had on term limits. I've only been on for coming up in 2 years in April, but there does seem to be a decent amount of turnover. I mean, when you think of term limits, you think of Congress where, you know, the incumbents win 98% of the time. We do seem to have a bit more turnover than that. I'm curious what it's been historically, but certainly over the past few years, there's been pretty ample turnover on the board. The other interesting question that I thought they had related to appointment as opposed to election. I think that was a generic question that they had relating to all of the different town elected committees and boards. But, you know, that's something that really caught my attention. I was thinking, you know, that really would be a disservice for this board to have appointees, because when you're appointed, you know, you're sort of captured by the person who appoints you. And I think that the library is always best served by an elected board, as we were touching on earlier.
Yeah, and the confidence that the Pew study indicated that most people have in their public library, you know, might be degraded if they felt that the people on the board, you know, running the policies at least, were, you know, in somebody's pocket or, you know, under control of someone else. So I agree. I think that's a good point. And, you know, it worries me a little bit sometimes about the FinCom not being beholden to anyone, but that's not for me to say, of course. So any other comments about their interview, Tom?
Yeah, back to the term as an appointed board. They said, well, you know, I told them, well, in cities, the library trustees are usually appointed by the mayor.
Mm-hmm.
In towns, they're usually elected, but not every place. There are many libraries, smaller libraries mostly, that are public libraries, but they're appointed by their self-appointing boards. In other words, they're trustees of the library, but if there's an opening, they appoint a new member.
And they bring on the new.
Yeah, the self-appointing board, right? And then so one time they asked me, well, you know, who would have, when they said if you wanted to appoint a board, I asked them, who do you think should appoint the board then? Well, it should be, they said maybe the select board. And I said, well, yeah, but I think maybe if we ever went to an appointed board, I think the people who should appoint the board is the board.
Well, I think we had such good success with all of, you know, the new members and other candidates that came forward when there was an opportunity to be appointed as opposed to needing to run for office. And I mean, we just had a wonderful turnout, lots of interest. And look at all of these, you know, all of you.
They asked specifically in that aspect. I don't, you know, about how do you recruit new members? You know, how do you recruit people to run or whatever? And then I went through the whole experience of when we had to fill the vacancy when that person who ran, you know, chose not to take his seat.
Yeah.
And then we had the selectmen and us, you know, because of the bylaws, we fill the vacancy until the next election. And we went there and we had, 9 or 11 people. Yeah. And of those 9 or 11 people, 4 of them are now on the board.
Yeah.
And because we found out people who were interested, they were qualified. We encouraged them to keep with the library because of keep with the, you know, the friends, or get involved with the friends or the foundation. And they did. And then they, you know, and then when the time came up, you know, for 2 of the people who were on that picking, 2 of the trustees who were picking, chose not to run for re-election. We had very few. We knew we had some good people out there who were going to run. It took us a long time to get Jay to do it. You know,
I told them, by the way, that I was opposed to any effort to recruit new people until after my upcoming election.
listen, I recall that, I was actually recruited by Greg. I was involved with the Friends, and he encouraged me to run and said he'd help me get my signatures, and, so it wasn't so much of a hassle. And Jay, you were shoot on very, in very short time frame, and Dan Matthews actually, and Mo got you, a lot of the signatures because they had to be rounded up very quickly. And so in a way, it sort of operates that way, whether or not it's election or not, because people do encourage other, where they feel it would be good candidates to run, if not to be appointed in an appointment situation when there's a vacancy. You know what, we're running behind. I'm going to have to move ahead. Old business. Could we hear about the website, Dimitri?
Well, the website, so I actually have a question for Rob and Jay. The contract is ready. And as I understand, they're going to send a DocuSign document, which means Ann can electronically sign it. They're going to send it tomorrow morning. But my question to Jay and Rob is, have you folks seen the final contract?
I've not, and I would have expected to see it before it was, approved.
So we're not signing anything, but
Rob, you haven't seen anything, right?
No, I haven't. But yeah, by all means, once you get the draft, the final draft, send it on over. We could take a quick look just to make sure there are no huge issues. But it sounds like most of the things have been ironed out.
The statement of work has been approved. All that's left is to make sure that the agreement properly integrates the statement of work into the agreement. And Chris is a smart lawyer. I'm sure everything's fine, but I think it would be appropriate for Rob and I take a quick look at it to make sure everything's all set.
Okay. Yes, Kay.
Yeah, and also just, as you said, the statement of work is approved, but I never really heard what their answers were about, the question of all the different pages that we're going to need. I guess I'm asking Dimitri and Danielle.
Yeah.
Were you assured that we were going to be able to get what we need? And they had their limit of 5 pages.
We were assured, and Danielle, correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm not articulating this correctly, but the 5 pages are like the main pages, and then from those pages, there would be standard pages. So if we want to add however many in each section, the only, like whether I forget the different categories now, but yeah, those are the marquee pages, so to speak. And off of that will, Danielle, help me out with language here.
Those are the so-called the custom pages, the ones that need specific designs, like the database page is going to need a specific design versus like the kids page, which is going to need another different design. But one of our 5th page is a template that we can use for the other pages that don't need like custom coding, that are library pages, but they don't need like as specific coding as like our database pages do. So we're absolutely going to get everything we need. It's just, a matter of, we had worked out like what we needed to, to have for those custom pages, what was essential, like the database pages, like the children's page.
But to your point, Kay, they've responded to all those requests and the comments you had, and Danielle and I both felt they responded to everything, and
Right.
Absolutely.
Great. Okay. Thank you, Kay, for your work on that statement of work part of it. Do you feel you need to see this contract, or you're not on that part of it before it's signed?
No, I'm letting the lawyers handle the
Okay.
contract.
All right. So Jay and Rob, if you would, Dimitri, if you would, and Ann, make sure that gets to them.
Yep.
You hear back from them before you sign off. That would be great. And then what is the next, what's the time frame, or do you have a sense what happens next, Dimitri? Or
once we get that all approved and it's all signed, then they'll guide us through their, they have a kickoff meeting, they involve all the staff that will be involved with all the different pieces. It'll be really great, actually, because it's going to dovetail with a couple of new staff members who are in the process. One that will be starting in mid-January, and another person we're hoping will accept Sarah's old position. And they both have tremendous experience with WordPress, with web pages, with all sorts of, and the truth is we had really good crops of candidates for both positions. So it'll be nice that both these people will be starting as we're embarking on their new webpage. And I'm I think both Danielle and I feel that, this will be great to have them on board.
I would think that when you were talking to candidates, they would have been excited about the prospect of a new website.
The ones that were were ones we were particularly interested in as well. So yeah, there were a few people that were,
Good. Okay, anything else on website, or we'll move on ahead?
Nope.
Okay, equity and inclusion resolution. I see, I had encouraged Anne not to, spend a whole week writing out every course that everybody took. I think it's important that we know, that, 10 staff members attended something, trustees attended, but I don't think it's important that we see every detail written out. I would like to see, if possible, not in the trustees and not in the director's report, but on the website, either as a sort of a subset of our resolution itself, somehow linked to that, or just with new materials, some highlighting of the materials that have been purchased that are, related to the resolution. Is that possible? Or I know we had a reading list that we gave to Anna. You had asked Anne to prepare this for one of the diversity summits, but I don't know if it's been kept up.
There is, I think, at the main page on the website, there is a link, but I think it's a static document. It was just for that one. So
it's old, and it's, I think it would be nice for people to be able to see what new books have been purchased for the collection that they might be interested in on the topic.
We can look into doing that. I don't know about the technical, but we'll look into that and see if we can do that. I'm also going to the reference department meeting on January 21st, so I can certainly talk about that and see, it's, for the folks that, Danielle and Gay, to put things on the website, how we can do that.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it has to be another static list, but then every month or every,
Sure.
so many months you'd have to, update it. So, I'll wait, let's wait to hear back on that one.
Yep.
But, I'm glad to see that there's progress on, and even Anna is going to be, with the diversity book group and with the first of the MacIvers addresses this as well. So there will be programs, not just, that was the weak area while we've been closed, in a sense, sponsoring programs. So Anna, go ahead.
Quick question here. I do agree that listing every single instance of, attending and participating in programming or creating programs, it was getting a little too busy here. But is there a way that every 3 months we could have like a chart, just like the other, like this other, you see it, you don't see it because, here. Anyway,
I don't know.
Yeah, my camera is performing a magic trick here, but it's like a table, how many, like for the month of January, how many programs were under inclusion. So there is like accounting, there is a tally, just like we do for circulation. So how many programs and how many people, how many training instances, so that we just have the number so that we know, every month. I don't know. I mean, we started this a few months ago, so I don't know if it'll create, it's not a priority, but over time, maybe, in June, it'll be a year that we started this. So it'll be good to see, within the year's time, how many programs did the library create? How many training events did, collectively, the trustees and the staff attended.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering if that is something that we could.
And maybe what the third category, what materials?
Right. Yeah. Just the three lines. So and across the months. So I wonder if that is something that could be put on the list. I mean, not for next month, but maybe, maybe in a couple of months down the road.
Okay.
We can do that.
We will try to do that. We'll see.
And we can even add that information to into what we are looking to do in terms of promoting the library, right?
Yep. I agree.
Yes, that actually would be great.
Yeah, okay, all right. So strategic plan for the current strategic plan. It's not ready quite. And I am going to just ask to table that. And I didn't send it to you because I don't have it. It's not quite ready. It's not in final form. I'm still waiting for some input from a couple trustees, and it's just things are pending. So I think we'll just, if no one has a big objection, we will table that until reading and adopting that report, discussing a particular draft. I think we'll put that off until February. I would like to address the next item though, which is I would like there to be an indication from you, Anne, about how you're going to address some of these the sort of planning type goals that have not been addressed in the 4.5 years so far. And it struck me that the staff objectives might be good ones to figure out how you're going to address those and let us know. There's objective B, actions 1 and 2. So let's go, let me just get that. And Rick, if you want, you're the staff guru.
Yeah, I have it open.
Yeah, I have it here too,
Near
but
the tail end of
go
the,
ahead.
it's one of the last goals. So I'll read it out in case people don't have it. Well, let me just sort of start in that. So the strategic goal 6 was the library will provide a superior level of service by professional and knowledgeable
Sure.
staff
It's time to turn off the.
in a positive work environment. So some of the objectives, objective A was evaluate current organizational structure related to
And
staff,
it is.
current library hours, and match library
Oh,
hours.
it's 8:30, 5 minutes, that's it.
Excuse me, Anna, I think your audio is on.
So it was matching library hours with community needs and wants. That I think was a very success because the over these past 5 years, the additional hours, Sunday hours and so forth. Objective B, provide training and continuing education for staff through a variety of opportunities. And the action was develop a formal structure for staff development and training, including time and budget considerations. And there was no activity over the course of the strategic plan the past 5 years. Action 2 was formalize a continuing education plan for staff expectations related to their job description and goals. Nothing started there. Action 3, encourage and support and allow staff to attend at least one workshop, training course and conference each year. That was, obviously a grand slam, although, with COVID, we had time available and the staff really did take advantage of that, as we have seen in the past reports in terms of taking advantage of many opportunities in that regard. Some of the other objectives, fostering pride and respect. Dimitri's done a great job in terms of, developing staff camaraderie and a lot of social activities and interactions and so forth. So he's to be commended on that in that regard. And then the most recent is inviting the public to be in from a social standpoint. But I think the 2 areas that would be of concern is the area of staff development in terms of, from a strategic standpoint, in terms of looking at, say, a gap analysis. Where is the library going? Where is the staff strengths and weaknesses today, and what do we need to do to address where we think that the needs are going forward? Basically, the results, there hasn't been anything formally done.
So
And
Rick,
Dimitri,
Yeah, if I could address that, to speak to your point, Rick, about, so there are some things, and, again, this isn't formalized, but this is just a direction of where we're going and we're thinking about this. We haven't discussed this yet, but Ann and I have been having discussions about our neighbor libraries have a position called community relations. Somebody who gets involved with the community, gets the library more embedded in the community. And all of our neighbor libraries have one of these. So it occurred to us that, and we just saw in the last couple of days that Belmont just created one of these jobs as well. The position, the DSR4, and again, this is a long-term fix. This is not going to fix this immediately, but in terms of we're thinking about this, every year in the DSR4, we ask for that electronic resources librarian. One thing has become obvious to us over the last few weeks with interviewing. All the folks that we're getting now, like these two positions, seem to have a lot of those skills coming into the reference department. So that will address some of those things that position was looking for. So Ann and I considered that the next time, and again, this is a long-term fix, but next year when we put in another DSR4, we're not going to ask for that position. What we will do is formulate something like a community relations position or something like that. We'll look at all our neighbors that have that position, look what it does, and sort of it'll be more of that kind of a, my experience was when I was a Natick, we had that position, and that person, they didn't do reference, they just worked embedded in the community, and they also helped a little bit with staff and staff development. And that's something I think that's going to go a long way to address that. Like I said, it doesn't fix it right now, but it's something we're talking about.
I think from given my background in human resources, I think what the intent was when we first did the plan 5 years ago was to do, look at the staff, look at their background, look at their strengths and weaknesses. What do they have? What don't they have? And then try to develop the staff that we currently have and determine what training needs should be addressed. We're sort of doing it back and forward. We basically allow the staff to make their own decisions as to what seminars they want to attend and so forth. And we're not doing it from a strategic or focused way. And I think what we were hoping for was that the library administration would again look at, from a strategic standpoint, look at the staff, develop a plan for each staff member based on the needs of the library and whether or not those needs are being addressed with the skills mix that we currently have with the staff.
And I understand, which that totally makes sense. And I think you are right in a way, it's sort of doing it the other way around, but with each with administration, with each department head, we are kind of doing that. We are kind of filtering the folks that we are bringing in, what we're looking for, the things that'll help us, help the community, help us go into the future. So, we're working on it. I am aware.
Well, the concern is 5 years have gone by.
I know.
And we have nothing to show for it. And certainly dealing with the FinCom, when you're applying for DSR for a new position, by doing that, you can say, we've done a stem to stern look at our staff in terms of where the gaps are. And we have gaps in the following areas. We're trying to develop people in this areas, but even our restrictions are such that we really need somebody to add to staff in this area because we feel that that's a gap. We don't have that, and we can't use that in making an argument to adding staff.
You're right, and I hope by next year that's something we make a more articulate and compelling argument rather than.
So I guess my question is, having been involved in Demetria, this is before your time, but having been involved with the hours of developing a strategic plan, why has 5 years gone by and nothing been done? And I raised that concern a year ago, that there's nothing addressed in this area. I guess that was when we look at the, now the 5 years have passed, the plan is done. We look at an area that in 5 years nothing has been done. This is the time to say, well, why hasn't it?
I have to say that looking at these goals, we've been doing them on an informal way. We haven't been making them terribly formal, but believe me, there have been people taking all kinds of courses, going to all kinds of meetings and all kinds of professional development. It's not like the subject is ignored, it just isn't formalized.
Well, yeah, I mean, in my comments, we sort of
Good point.
addressed that yes, the amount of trainings that the staff has been attending, and certainly they've taken it, given the circumstances with COVID and before we started to do the curbside pickup, they really went and made an effort to develop themselves by taking courses and so forth. But it's not a directed activity. In terms of looking at from a strategic standpoint, what areas do we really need to focus on and direct people in that area. And that's what the plan was asking for.
The ask was for a plan, a formalized plan, a study of what is needed before scattershot making, taking actions on a non-existent plan. You may have what you feel is an intuitive sense of what needs doing. It's not necessarily right. It might be right. And it also, it doesn't serve the purpose when you're going to ask for, requesting a position. It's really not very strong. So, that's why the goal was there in the first place. And, it's a disappointment that it's, here we are. But, I would like to know how you're going to address those particular staff goals, and have you come back to us and tell us how, what you propose to do to come up with not just actions, but the formal plan that was contemplated by these two particular actions under Objective B of staffing. So I guess I will put that on for the next time. And if you have, some kind of a response in February, we'll like to listen to it. I think we need to move to marketing and outreach. Anything in particular? Okay, let's keep going. Diversity. Anna, do you want to just plug?
Yes, I actually sent the, there's one other event that the library is not sponsoring, but is maybe an opportunity for folks who want to attend. Is this Martin Luther King celebration that is coming up this Monday. So I'm putting the link in the chat. Let me see, yep. And okay, let me see here.
Sign up through Eventbrite.
Yes,
Yeah.
and it's an hour and a half and it'll be virtual. So this is just not, the library is not sponsoring, but it's an opportunity again to participate in an event, a local event. So that's one. And then the other two events, one that we have for MacGyver series coming up, which I circulated the flyer, is January 31st. The author, Michelle Chalmers, is going to be reading The Skin on My Chin with Purchase 10 Books. It's being promoted now. Thank you, Gay Ellen, for all your support. And I think we have about, 15 attendees at this point.
You got more
really?
than that.
Great.
Give me a moment and I'll get you a figure.
And then so that's one. And then the other event, we have the Diversity Discussion Book Club coming up on the 27th of January with An American Marriage with Tayari Jones, who will be attending, by the way. So I suggest that you sign up, and registration for that is in the town Asabeth, the interactive calendar from the town. So we are going to have those two, and the February is in the works.
You currently have 37 people signed up for the Diversity and Discussion
Great.
Book Club. And let me pull up the information on the one on the 31st.
And here's the book.
Yes. Rick, yes, you have a
Just
question?
a quick one. On the MacGyver, I remember when I first joined the board, it was, and maybe for the new members, when I first joined the board, it was made very clear to me that one of the obligations of being a trustee is making sure you try to attend the MacGyver series, because your fellow trustee had worked on trying to, get a speaker and make sure that you have attendees. And I remember, I think it was Lois that told me that. And so I sort of recommend to the other trustees that try to attend your fellow trustees MacGyver, because you will soon be doing a MacGyver and you will want people to be there as well.
I can tell you there are 13 people currently registered for the MacGyver lecture series, and there is only one other trustee other than Anna currently registered.
And this particular MacGyver for the one in January is more appealing for elementary school children. So if you have any little ones in the house, or if those is mostly applicable to them. The one in February is going to be on slavery and enslavement in Needham, excuse me, reckoning with a difficult history. So we are working on that, and that'll be February 21st.
I've already got 2 people signed up for that.
Oh,
Sounds very interesting. I did ask today, actually I just left a message requesting the book for the first MacGyver. And I understand that it's been set aside for me already. So they do seem to be available. I thought my thought was, well, I'll read it and I'll throw it back in. So, it can circulate.
that'll be wonderful. Yeah, we purchased
Yeah.
10 books. 10 books.
Yeah.
So hopefully the idea is to.
Well, it shouldn't take 3 weeks to read, children's, I don't know how long it is, but I would assume it's brief. So that would be great. It's a real change to have this type of program. It's sort of a family program, which we have had before, but having a children's book, I don't recall doing. I don't know, maybe we have, and I don't have that long a history, but anyway, that sounds all just great. And
Carol, I can pass along the word that in the applications that I just sent to the Foundation for funding, the Children's Department is asking for funding for 2 diversity programs they're going to be doing this spring.
Oh, good. All right. Super.
Oh, and one quick thing, I did communicate to Paula Dugan about the MacGyver event so that she's also in the loop, as it is a children's program, after all. So she's been invited and hopefully she'll attend or I'll, pass the word.
Okay. So I think we're on to new strategic plan. Dimitri, is there any update yet, or is it too soon?
So we're still, Jay and I had one discussion with one consultant. I've been in touch, Ann and I, with another one who's done the strategic plan for Wellesley and recently did the one for Auburn. He seems very interested, and we're very interested in him and his work. And I can share more details about that once we have more. Jay and I have a chance to talk with him as well. His name is Chuck Flaherty. He does his own consulting. He'd been the longtime director of the Brookline Public Library. And then since then, he retired in 2014. He's done a few strategic plans, but Wellesley is the one that I don't know if you read all the material before from Wellesley, but he did their strategic plan. I had some communication with their director, Jamie Jurgensen. She was really happy with the job he helped them do.
Oh,
So I think that's who we're going to hone in on, but still early, but he's probably, Jay and I will talk some more, and Ann,
We're still
He was
collecting.
probably, he was also the Framingham Library director
Yes, he was a long time.
and a classmate of mine at Simmons.
I did not know that, Tom.
Yes,
Wow.
yes.
So Jay, what was it?
I was
Jay?
just going to say that we're really just collecting our thoughts and getting
Yeah.
started. We met with this one woman who was impressive, but her partner, who was her daughter, who used to work with her on this stuff, got some other job, and so she really wouldn't be in a position. And so I'm hoping that we collect our thoughts some more and are in a position to give you an update next month.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Okay. Facebook? Anything we need to know?
No comments. Just there are lots of likes.
Okay, all right, sounds good. I thought maybe we should, since we're into 2021, we ought to, halfway through our year, we should just set up a schedule of who wants to report on their section that they said they would monitor among us trustees. You know, we can go in order of the goals by goal number if we want. It's, you know, we would start out with Tom and then move to Kay, I think. Next, are you second on the goal number 2? I have to look back. So let's
So
just,
we, do we have a list? So you circulated the list to who's doing what this year? That's
yeah,
in
it's
the
in
past.
the goal. Yeah.
I'm not sure what I'm doing, but I'll look back at my materials that came in. And but I will say if I'm working on trying to do this public facing document, that's probably gonna take my time, especially if I'm also doing the art committee.
Order. Doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be in the same order. I was just going to say, if somebody wants to volunteer to, you know, take the, you know, do their section, say February or even March, that would be great. Anybody willing to do what they, Rob, I don't know about technology. What do you think about, are you going to have the bandwidth or?
Yeah, I'm happy to do that. And in terms of timing, any month is okay.
March. Let's.
Am I doing,
okay.
am I doing February collections?
If you want to do it, I think.
I think I'd
you
rather
know,
postpone it, I think.
Okay, well, let's start
Based upon the pandemic
in March.
and the situation with, you know.
It's a little hard. Yeah. So technology is really a, you know, a hotbed yeah, right now with the library closed. So let's, we're really relying on it. Let's go with March. Will be technology with Rob. Okay.
Carol, I have a question.
Yes.
So this fiscal year 2021 trustee goals should read library goals, right? Is this what you were talking about earlier? Is not trustees goals?
No. Well,
Or is
the
trustees
trustee goals.
report on the library goals, right? That's what you said earlier.
One of the trustee goals is for each trustee to monitor the library's progress in a certain area of the strategic plan.
Right.
So those are the reports that we're talking about. Yeah.
But here it says trustee goals. And on the agenda, it says under number 8,
well,
it says trustee goals.
Right.
So I think that isn't
one of
that
the trustee goals. The interim report is the trustee goal to monitor and do an interim.
Okay,
report.
so it's not the
that's
strategic. We're not talking about the strategic. Okay, got it.
Yeah. And those reports, you know, end up being, you know, the content really of our annual progress. The trustees report on the library's progress for the year under the strategic plan. Okay. Library.
I'm sorry, but I also share some of the confusion with Anna on the interim reporting schedule that we're supposed to do. Is there a document you can point us to so we each know exactly what we're doing on this?
Yes, we voted on those in December, I believe.
Yeah, okay.
So you should be able to see that.
If I look back to the December, because I have had some confusion over
look
the
at
trustees' goals
the
versus
materials for December. I don't think I have them.
I'll look back at December.
Yeah. So we approved that. Yeah, and actually, more than the monitoring, there was, you know, it was the resolution. There were other things too, and we need to address those during the year. But I'll take another look at that and see how we should maybe proceed with those other things. I mean, we're getting reports on the diversity, you know, resolution on inclusion and equity every month. So that's sort of being monitored, but the other couple we should look at. But for now, I think we need to at least have some kind of a beginning rather than everybody having to aim for the end of the fiscal year to prepare their report. I think it's helpful to have these sprinkled through our year of meetings. Art and Exhibits Committee.
Oh, yes.
You're
So
up.
just,
You're up.
I'm up again.
Okay.
So yes, so this month we have online, we have the abstract sculptor Gosi Davidoff, and Gay Allen has uploaded his work. I've been doing some publicity, trying to get some eyeballs on his work, which has been a bit of an uphill battle. I'm not sure how many views we're getting. And we also have Sam Williams coming up next month doing the Black Lives Matter protest movement. And he's updating his, I think, Galen, you've been in touch with Sam. Has he reached out to you?
I have not heard anything from Sam yet, but I will give him a poke next week if I haven't seen anything.
Yeah,
I've got to
actually
spend a little bit of time getting pictures ready to go up.
He contacted me, and I'm going to have a little conversation with him tomorrow just to do the publicity. And I would ask that people, so along with what Rick said about supporting, especially supporting the other trustees' programs. In this case, it's strictly online. There's no, so, you know, these artists are going to the trouble of preparing their work to show online. There's no automatic set of people walking by like there is normally in the art gallery. So I'm gonna probably share with you a little bit of a blurb that I'm hoping everybody will be able to disseminate to their email lists, or if they use social media. I'm asking for a little help. When the time comes, I'll send out some information, and I hope all of you can spread the word.
Well, the sculptor is, you know, he's already up.
He's up now, and I've done a fair amount of publicity. I haven't sent a blurb to you guys because I wasn't quite aware of how hard it is to get people to actually look at these online exhibits, but I am becoming
How do you know? How do you know whether people are looking or not? Can you?
I don't think we know. Do we, Gay Allen?
I don't think you can tell by how many people click onto that page. I don't think we get those statistics because we don't own the website, guys. It's owned by the town.
Okay. All right. So enough said.
I will say it's in 2 locations. I have it on the front of our library page itself, and I have it on the events and program page. So it's in 2 locations so that if they hit one page, they should see it, hopefully.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was going to say, I enjoyed looking at it, but I have to say I had to go through a few times because it came and went a little too fast for my eyes. I couldn't really. I mean,
there were 32 slides in that presentation. No one is going to sit still for a minute of each slide showing.
I had the same reaction though, where it would be easier if you could just click on an image and see the image for as long as you want to look at the image.
I wish we could, but it's not set up that way.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So
we won't discuss.
We could probably slow them down a little bit, Gail, and if people get
I can
sick of
try,
watching,
but I will tell you point blank what I have to go through each month to get that thing to load is,
I'm sorry.
It's about a 2-hour job getting it to properly behave.
Oh,
all right. Well, you know, do what you can. It's a little frustrating to have the thing disappear just when you're starting to try to figure out what is it, what does it look like? But, different kinds of work might be more easily absorbed. I don't know. The photography next month, people might want to really look, at longer each, on each slide. So, okay.
So may I just mention that we did have a resignation on the Art and Exhibits Committee. Carol Goldberg basically said, she's from the Friends. She had been asked by the Friends to serve.
Yes, I asked
told
her.
me that she's just really not interested. So is that a requirement of this committee that we have a member of the Friends? Do we need to recruit someone?
Yes, you can look in the policies for the Art and Exhibits Committee.
I'm pretty sure it is a requirement that somebody from the Friends has to be a member.
We should make sure it's on the agenda for the next Friends meeting.
Yeah.
So who should I reach out to for the Friends?
It's actually, I don't think it's up to the Friends to do it. You could bring it up, but it's not up to them to choose. Let me just go back to the policy itself and I'll tell you what it says. it's 9, policy 9 in our book. Let me just flip to it. This is when I'm in the wrong one. That's why it doesn't look like the right thing. Excuse me. All right. Board of Trustees will appoint a library art and exhibits committee consisting of one trustee who will chair the committee, that's UK, the library director or designee. Now, in the past, most recently, quite a few years, that has been head of circulation, and Deborah Lovett. She hasn't even been, she's been out sick for a few months, so I don't know, how many meetings that absence affected. And is quite able to, choose somebody else for that spot. The reference a program library, and that's Gay Ellen, a member of the Friends of the Library, and a local artist or crafts person. So Carol was a member of the Friends of the Library, and remind me, Vicky
Garby.
Garby is a local artist or crafts person.
Yes.
Not a member, doesn't have to be a member of the Needham Art Association.
But she's the president of it right now.
As it happens, but she wasn't when she was, brought on. She was recommended to me by Nancy Walton, and she seemed like she would be a good person for it, and she, I think, has been.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the question is, what's the procedure for getting a Friends person?
John is on the Friends, and he's an artist. I would think that he would be interested in an ideal candidate.
Yeah, so should we just do that sort of outreach, or do we need to ask whoever's in charge of the Friends, the board?
No, you can do outreach. You can go to the Needham Art Association. In the past, that's what I did to get. Well, that's how I got Vicky Garby, but.
I asked Vicky, she says she doesn't know anybody on the Friends.
Yeah, but you can go, you can go to other artists in town and ask them if they have thoughts too, if it turns out that John isn't available or.
But don't they have to be on the Friends?
Well, isn't John a member of the Friends though?
John
is, but he may or may not be interested.
Okay, so you hopefully have somebody who's interested in art.
I think he'd be an ideal candidate, and I would.
So what's his last name, John? Is it Lechner or
Lechner?
Lechner.
Yeah.
I'll reach out to him.
Tom?
I do think the reason the Friends is in there, I think originally, is because it's the Friends Gallery.
Mm-hmm.
Is one of the main viewing places. And I think that's why it's in there. So I would suggest that it would be good to let them know that we are seeking a member of the Friends who would like to be on the committee.
Yeah,
I think
I
it would
agree.
be a
So
good.
what I'm asking is, who at the Friends should I reach
Well,
out
I can
to?
mention it at the next Friends board meeting.
They're meeting next week, right?
Meeting next week. I'd be happy to bring it up and mention it.
You're on the board, right? Yeah.
Actually, they're meeting the 25th.
It's later, a little bit later, but still, it's soon. So you'll work that out with Jay and to present it, and okay. Yeah, excellent. And it's very nice to see these virtual exhibits, even though, it would be nice to be able to go to the library and see these things in person. Some things may actually work out better virtually if people find it,
Right, that's the right.
Go ahead, Tom.
And once we appoint the person, and they'll have, since it's part of it's a town board, town group committee, they'll have to be notified that it's an open meeting and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They'll have to sign the paper that it's an open, they recognize it's an open meeting law.
Okay.
That I don't think has been done yet. Hasn't been done in the past. We just sort of started in the midstream. We didn't have new people, so you.
It was never done when I was involved. But
Yeah,
Since
yeah.
then, it was determined that there should be
doing it that way.
in the
So-
open meeting law. It was determined that way, yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah, you're probably right. You know, you might have to check with, Teddy Eaton, excuse me, about the paperwork. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so we already did MacIver. Thank you. We already got through that at the same time. Thank you, Anna, for doing that. Friends of the Library.
Yeah, I'll talk on the subject of events and attending them and promoting them. We have a couple of great events that the Friends Program Committee has scheduled for the last 2 Sundays in January, the 24th and the 31st. Zoom events Sue Kessner and I have sort of put together. On the 24th, we're having the president of the Oxford English Dictionary in the Digital Age. You know, he's the president of the Oxford English Dictionary, and he's going to talk about it. It's been in the news about all the new words that are coming up, and I think that should be fun and interesting. And also the next Sunday on the 31st, we're having a woman, Ruth Margolin, who's a crossword puzzle creator. She's had her puzzles in the Sunday Times, New York Times, and you know, and so she'll do a presentation about creating crossword puzzles. If you are one of those like me who do them or know people, so I'll be sending out to all of you the press release about that with the information about how to link for the Zoom event, and I'd personally appreciate it if you'd pass the word along. And I'm looking forward to them both.
Yeah, they sound great, Jay.
I've got my
Got your Oxford English Dictionary?
my OED, yeah.
You got all the volumes there, Tom?
This is just a supplement, no. Just a
Got a
supplement.
magnifying glass? Yeah,
The magnifying glass is
Yeah.
attached in the little box here.
yeah.
So I'll send along that information and do what you can do.
Okay, great. Thanks, Jay.
So I can tell you that at the moment there are 62 people who have signed up for the crossword puzzle and 65 for the Oxford English Dictionary.
I've
We're
only.
doing some outreach to puzzle groups online and things like that. And with your help, you know, we'll have a nice turnout.
Yeah, sounds great. Nice programming. Library Foundation, we're running a little bit over, but Joan, finally, it's your turn.
Yeah, well, we're meeting on Thursday, so there's nothing to really report. I will say that we're very pleased. Fundraising has at least matched last year's, which has been good. But
Wow.
other than that, I have nothing to report. But next month I will.
Wonderful. That's very nice
Happy New
news.
Year.
Yeah, same to you. Thank you for sitting in on all this. It was a long wait.
Well, it's interesting, and it's, you know, I'm learning a lot.
And then anyway, when else would we see you?
I mean, I suppose we could do the Library Foundation first, and then you can hit the road. But we're happy to have you along for the ride.
This is tradition that it's the yeah.
Okay.
So, okay, trustee comments. Tom, you're faithful.
Just want to let you know, I just signed up for the MacIver on the 31st. It was
I will
easy
do
to,
the
it was
same.
easy to do.
I will do the same.
Yeah, I will too. Yeah.
And I'll do the crossword and OED soon too.
Okay. Any other comments at the moment? Then may I have a motion to adjourn, please?
So
So
moved.
moved.
Okay, Anna, and second.
Yep.
Yeah, okay, thanks, Tom. Let's go around. I think we will have nobody who's opposing this at 9:05 or 6. Jay,
Aye.
all in favor, Rob,
Aye.
Rick,
Aye.
Tom,
Aye.
Anna,
Aye.
Jay,
Hi.
and I am in favor. Thank you very much, everyone. And we'll
Thank
see you
you.
next month. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.